This is C.U.R.E Radio, your broadcasting conduit to the latest medical information, facts, and reports from the cutting edge. Your hosts are Anita Finley and Cornelius Myers.
C.U.R.E Radio, what is that all about? Well, it's cutting edge understanding, research, and education. And I'm Anita Finley, and my co-host is Cornelius Myers. You've heard of us before. We've done the C.U.R.E symposiums, and we have so many things to tell you about that are new and cutting edge. So welcome again to the show, Neil.
Thank you, Anita. It's a pleasure to be here, and a pleasure to continue what we started, which is gotten feedback, exactly the same style of feedback we got at the actual C.U.R.E symposiums. And that is, we've just received more information than we ever considered possible about topics that interest us. Can you please give us more? And here we are, poised to give more.
Yeah, it is amazing, isn't it, that if you listen to NPR on, I think it's Fridays, Science Fridays, or you go into the New York Times, there are always now sections on what science is coming up with that's new and exciting, and you are so good at this. So what do we want to tell our listeners today?
Well, a lot of times, cures are right at your fingertips and under your control. They don't have to be exotic. They don't have to be pharmaceutical. They don't even have to be expert. You just have to understand some of the values of the things that you are eating. Now, for example, there is a category of foods that help alleviate depression. And that's so important when you're down and you don't know where to turn, and you don't want to start self-medicating, and you don't want to turn to a physician. Consider these foods that can help you when you're having a down day. At the top of the list is turkey. Why? Because it contains tryptophan. Now, tryptophan is naturally found in turkey. For those of you who always wondered, why does everybody fall asleep in front of the TV after Thanksgiving dinner? Well, tryptophan is kicking in and relaxing everybody and putting them in a sleep mode. By the way, it's also in other comfort foods, pasta, and the old warm milk treatment before you go to bed. It's a very strong chemical. It's available over the counter in pharmacies, but you can find it in natural foodstuff substances, and that will help alleviate your depression. Brazil nuts, rich in selenium and very good against free radicals, and also will help you break that funk that you're in. Carrots, that's right. You know how Bugs Bunny always seems to be in a good mood? Well, that's because he's sucking up the carrots by the gross, and they are rich in beta-carotene. Now, this was a surprise to me when I first came across it, and I never would have thought of it as a help for depression. But clams and mussels contain large amounts of vitamin B12, and that's something that helps you break bad moods.
Well, wait a minute. I know why, though. It's because I thought it also helps your sexual appetite.
Well, yeah, speaking of depressing issues. And also coffee, because caffeine is a real mood kicker. And if you're sort of feeling very flip-flop and you need something to get you going to feel better, coffee is an at-your-fingertips solution. Leafy greens, foliates, and B9, also excellent for breaking depression cycles. Salmon, filled with omega-3 fatty acid, and that is a mood affector as well. And as we mentioned earlier, that glass of warm milk before dinner, even if you're just drinking a glass of milk with your lunch, it contains vitamin D. That's something that you normally get from sunshine. But last time we spoke about depression, the seasonal adjusted depression, we said that you had to do something to break the cycle, and a glass of milk will really supplant some of the light that you're missing during the darker part of the seasons. So you can eat and really be happy and also enjoy yourself at the same time. Not a bad combination.
And also, I was just looking at that list. Many of these wonderful foods are not fattening. Now, if you had said ice cream and you had said chocolate cookies, that's comfort foods, but it's probably not healthy.
No, it certainly is. And what happens is, that's a very interesting point, Anita. You rebound when you consume that quart of ice cream that's been sitting in the back of the freezer like a forbidden fruit, and you get out and you just get an old movie, and all of a sudden the thing is empty. your mood de-escalates into depression because you feel so badly about what you've done. What have I done to myself? Oh, no, I'm out of control. I have to take a diet. So, yeah, there's a big emotional rebound from that, and it's something that you can take charge of.
One thing you said at the very beginning, and I really appreciate it, and I hope that our listeners appreciate it, before you go to those medications, which do help with depression, try these very easy tips that Neil gave you, and especially carrots. And, of course, you know I have this wonderful dog, Snowy, and the reason that she smiles in the morning is she loves carrots, and she eats them.
That's lovely. What an image.
Right. So that was a very good thing on foods that will really help depression. Thank you for talking about that.
Oh, it's fun to know those things, and it's even better to be able to implement them. And these are all highly implementable steps that you can take in your diet, in your snack. Snack on carrots, it'll lower your weight. Snack on Brazil nuts, you'll feel better, et cetera, et cetera. And those are all things that you can do yourself, and that's really important, to take charge of your own life, your own health, and develop behavior patterns that are beneficial to you. What happens if you don't have successful behavior patterns? Well, throughout our conversations with Anita, we'll be throwing in bullet points of pieces of health that you may not have known. And to start us off on the bullet point for today, for every pound of fat that you gain, you add 7 miles of new blood vessels.
Oh, wait a minute.
Why?
You have to repeat that again. Say that again?
For every pound of fat that you gain, you add 7 miles of new blood vessels. Let me explain why. New tissue needs a blood supply, so your vascular system expands to accommodate it. That also means that your heart must work harder to pump blood through the new network, which may reduce oxygenation and nutrient replenishment in other tissues. Lose a pound, and your body will break down and reabsorb the unneeded blood vessels from the previous tissue.
Well, that in itself is good enough for anyone to go and start their New Year's diet. I, for one, wow, I did not know that. Thank you for giving us that great factoid.
That's what C.U.R.E. Radio is all about.
That's true. Okay, so we have that as our first bullet point. What's our next one?
Oh, like another bullet point?
Yeah, I want another bullet point.
I have a whole basket of them here.
I love that.
Muscle tissue is 3 times more efficient at burning calories than fat. Now, that's why possessing more muscle should be a training goal for most people. More muscle equals more calories burned, equals less fat, equals being more fit, and these are simple goals with a simple math. Not bad, huh?
No, that's excellent. In fact, I'm thinking more as we talk that I probably will be putting a lot of this in Boomer Times under a C.U.R.E. column, because we don't want just the radio listeners to C.U.R.E. Radio. We want our readers also to get them. They're fun. I'm glad that you're finding them. And don't you find, Neil, that there are so many new inventions and new types of health events that you can come up with, and it's easy to find this. They can go on the web, they can listen to us, but this seems to be the new wave that people are so interested in health and what they're going to be able to do to live longer and to be healthier so that they can look better.
Absolutely right. And the good news is that this information is not only accessible, but it's implementable. We used to talk about there's a new pill for this, that, or the other thing, and 10 years of FDA testing will be ahead before it will be released in the market. Listen to this next breakthrough, Anita, that's going to be available in just 36 months. Patients needing surgery to reconstruct body parts, such as noses and ears, could soon have treatment using cartilage which has been grown in a lab. Amazing.
Oh, now that really is cutting edge. And how will they make it match your body?
Well, the process involves growing someone's cells, your very own cells, in an incubator, and then mixing them with a liquid, and that in turn is 3D printed into a jelly-like shape. It's then put back into an incubator, and it's left to grow again until it's ready. Researchers have hoped to be among the first in the world using this in humans within 3 years. In simple terms, they're trying to grow new tissues using human cells. They are trialing using 3D printing, which is a very exciting potential modality to make these relatively complex structures. Now, most people have heard a lot about 3D printing, and that started with the traditional 3D printing using plastic and metals. But now they've developed that they can consider printing biological tissue. It's called 3D bioprinting, and it's very different. They're trying to print biological structures using human cells and provide the right environment and the right timing so they can grow into tissues that we can eventually be put into a human. If you'd like to have reconstructed lost body parts, such as parts of the nose or the ear, or ultimately large parts, including bone and muscle and vessels, scientists are working right now with engineers, and they've built a 3D printer specifically for that type of work.
I am just floored. I am so floored by this, and I know that Professor Whitaker over there at the Welch Center for Burns and Plastic Surgery at the Marsden Hospital is the one that's working on this. He could get a Nobel Prize for something like this, I think.
He certainly could, and the whole Swansea University Medical School team is really working so hard and so fast. It's so encouraging to know if you've been disfigured by an accident, for example, that you don't have to be that way for the rest of your life. Within 3 years, science may come up with something that can completely change your appearance and make your life a better place to be. By the way, if you wonder kind of how this works, cells are taken from a tiny sample of cartilage during the initial operation. They're then grown in an incubator for several weeks. The shape of the missing body part is scanned and fed into a computer. It's then 3D printed using a special liquid formula combined with the live cells to form a jelly-like structure. Reagents are added to strengthen the structure. It can be put in an incubator with a flow of nutrients to supply the cells with food so they can grow and produce their own cartilage, and the structure is then tested to see if it's strong enough to be eventually implanted into patients. And that's 3 years away.
That really is a cure. C.U.R.E. symbolic of what we want to do at C.U.R.E. I have never heard of this before, and I'm sure most people haven't. It is so promising because as you were talking, I was thinking about people who have, missing limbs. I would think that maybe they could put new legs and arms on people, what you were saying.
They're working in that direction, certainly, larger body parts, and they seem to feel it's within their grasp. But right now they're talking about the doable, which I find very refreshing. Ready for another factoid?
I'm ready.
Okay. You are taller in the morning than you are in the evening. When you crawl out of the sack in the morning, you're at your tallest. On average, you are approximately 1/2 inch taller when you wake in the morning, and that's thanks to excess fluid between your spinal discs. While you're sleeping, these fluids replenish. During the day, your body has to deal with the stress of standing and gravity, so the discs become compressed and the fluid seeps out. The result is that you lose a small amount of extra height. So if you're looking to slam dunk, do it first thing before breakfast.
Well, Neil, that accounts for a lot of things because a lot of us have really lost height as we age. And, of course, the fluid and all of that is what we can blame. But when I was thinking about this, then people should be getting more sleep.
They should, and that's something that is always discounted. We come from this kind of utilitarian society, Anita, that we're called slug-a-beds, lazy people, sleep-ins, if we're constantly sleeping longer than what is perceived to be the national average, which used to be 6 hours a night. But science has shown us now that 8 to 9 hours is a minimum length of time to rest your body and to maintain your health. Any less than that, and you're risking all kinds of health hazards.
Now I understand something. My husband likes to take short naps, and I could have sworn when he comes off the bed, he's taller.
Well, there you go. I'm sure. we got to put a tape on Bill and see how he comes out.
I mean, this is good. This is so. Also, if you're hemming a skirt or something, you don't want to do it early in the morning because this is good. Well, Neil, I love that factoid. I love these interesting little bits, and these are true, right?
They absolutely are. They've been gleaned from various journals and reduced for digestible presentation. But yes, they're all true and they're all checkable. A good idea is if you hear something that Anita's discussing or I might mention in the course of the program, and it really grabs you, and you have doubt or active curiosity about it, jot it down and take it to your caregiver. And say, I've just heard this on C.U.R.E radio, and I wonder, is there anything to this? And you can get it verified if you like. Even your pharmacist could probably give you some guidance. That's a very important point, by the way. You should have a list of caregivers in your life, because these are people who can not only make your quality of life better, but they can extend it, they can catch things before they go wrong. And if you want to use them as a source of reference, you should feel perfectly free to do so. It's a great idea.
And I should tell everyone that all these shows, C.U.R.E Radio, are on YouTube. So if you missed one, just get into Boomer Times Presents, and you can look up C.U.R.E Radio, or you can get on YouTube and put in C.U.R.E Radio, and you'll be able to hear a lot of these, because sometimes we go pretty fast, and I know you want to relate this to someone. And so Neil Myers, we call him Neil. His formal name is Cornelius, but he's a friendly guy, and he's, as you can see, very smart. He's very talented, and we expect to be presenting this every week so that you'll be able to hear lots and lots of things. I want to talk to you about men a minute. I know you're a great man, and I have a question for you. Why is it that men don't like to go to doctors?
Oh, what a good question. We also don't like to ask directions, you notice? So we're perpetually lost on the turnaround of life. Well, it's important for men to understand a couple of basic things as to how doctors can relate to their better health. On average, men live their lives sicker and they die sooner than women in the United States. And the big factor, well, women are 100% more likely to visit a doctor for an annual examination and preventative services than men. This is according to the U.S. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Why is this important? Well, for obvious medical reasons, but it's good to focus on it because June is coming up as Men's Physical Health Month, and that coincides with Dad's Day, which is on June 21st. Now, it's also Men's Health Week, June 15th to the 21st, and these observances are intended to encourage men to see primary care physicians for starters and to promote early detection and treatment of diseases among men and boys. Now, the top 10 reasons why men put off doctor's visits. Number one, you don't have a doctor. Well, men need to find a doctor. As I said, you need caregivers in your life that you can identify and trust. But they have to take the first step, which usually involves checking their insurance provider's reference materials or local listings. It's also a good idea to check with friends and family for recommended doctors. Second reason, you don't have insurance. Well, with the Affordable Care Act, this should be much less of a problem. You don't have insurance through your employer, get a guideline from the American Health Association. They can help. Number three, there's probably nothing wrong. Well, that one is very common rationalization for men, especially for men who think they take care of themselves sufficiently not to have anything wrong with their health. But you need a doctor to be sure. Some serious diseases don't have symptoms. For example, high blood pressure is one. It can cause heart attack and stroke. High cholesterol is another symptomless condition, and by the way, so is diabetes. You don't have time. Well, there's a common excuse we all hear for a number of things, but you don't have time to exercise, which can lead to weight and other risk factors. The American Heart Association points out that 2 hours could save your life if you really do need a doctor. That's how much time you need to set aside for a physical checkup. They're usually just once a year, unless you need to follow up with a diagnostic appointment or a specialist. If that's the case, well, the checkup has served its purpose. You know, guys, we spend so much money, time, focus, and nervous energy on taking care of our cars. Have you noticed? We line up outside these garages and we put in exotic pieces of machinery to keep our beloved cars going. We spend all this money, we spend all this time, and then we drive off into the sunset. Gentlemen, if you spent 1/10 of what you spend on your car for your own health care, you would notice a dramatic difference in positive things in your life, including your good health. Now, another excuse, you don't need to spend the money. If you have good insurance coverage, well, that's much less of an issue. But the point of a checkup is to prevent chronic or serious health issues, and they can be very costly if you're not aware of them. Also, doctors don't do anything. Well, that's a big misconception. Primary care physicians, for example, coordinate blood work and other diagnostics that can detect early signs of cancer or risk factors for heart disease. You don't want to hear what you might be told, the old avoidance problem. Well, this is especially true for men who smoke, drink too much, or put on too much weight. Some men have a tough time facing their health issues until it's too late or it's worse. That's why regular checkups are important in helping men get on the right course to live healthier. You've got a probophobia. You know what that is, guys. Many men over 50 may benefit from a digital rectal examination. Please, your hands have to be so cold, based on some underlying symptoms. But men should not let the prospect of this test stop them from getting all the benefits of an annual physical. You'd rather tough it out. Well, there you go. I love butch guys who are sick. It's not a good idea if you have serious underlying risk factors. Unlike athletes who play hurt during a single event, the game of life is about staying healthy for a long time. I mean, a lifetime. And then finally, in the top 10 reasons why men don't go to see doctors, your significant other has been nagging you to get a checkup. Okay, you don't want to give in, but isn't it possible for this one time that you could be wrong? Go see a doctor.
This is great, and I am just laughing as you're speaking because so many of those tips are very true. But the last one, I was a little surprised because it seems that the women are the ones that do finally get the doctor, the husband or the male friend to go to the doctor.
Yes, it's nagging in the most positive way, and men are. You know, well, this is a whole other program we could get into about the shortcomings of men. Being one, I have the right to comment on it. But let's replace all of that with another factoid. Your body produces enough heat in only 30 minutes to boil a half gallon of water.
No kidding.
Your body's the epitome of a study in the law of thermodynamics. You produce heat from all that's going on. That includes exercise, metabolizing food, maintaining homeostasis, and as you sweat, exhale, excrete, and urinate, you are generating heat. Second factoid, human bone is as strong as granite relative to supporting resistance. Would you believe a matchbox-sized chunk of human bone can support 18,000 pounds? Compared to concrete, human bone is 4 times greater in support strength.
Now that amazes me because I thought as one ages, the bone is not as strong. You're talking about young bone?
Yes. Well, not necessarily young bone, just our bones, our skeletal system. It's quite. I had a first-hand opportunity to find out about that when I had a comminuted fracture of my right ulna, and it was in 28 pieces. And they were talking about putting in a pin to bring it all back together again. And the doctor said, "You want to take a shot? Let it heal naturally, because when it does, it's 10 times stronger than it was before you broke it."
Yeah, and I'm very happy to hear that. That was a very important factoid. And as a matter of fact, I was thinking about something as you were talking about men, and that's probably why the Broward Health District has now put together what they call a man van. And the man van will travel anywhere in South Florida, and it goes, when you get on, if you're a man, you're able to have your blood pressure checked. You're able to see a lot of things that you probably don't have to even go to a doctor's office for. So it's this big van that goes around. They'll go to health fairs in a lot of places. So it's, see what they're doing is they're taking the health care to the male.
What a brilliant idea. Huh? Absolutely brilliant.
It's unique. And they're very happy to have had it sponsored. I think it's sponsored by Blue Cross, as a matter of fact. I just give a little plug there because it's a great thing to do. And I think they have, I don't know if they have a doctor on board, but the man van, and you can get more information about that if they go to browardhealth.org. And that's, so it kind of falls into what you were talking about, Neil.
Yes, it does. How's our time, Anita?
We're still good.
For another factoid?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. By the age of 18, your brain stops growing. From that age forward, it begins to lose more than 1,000 brain cells every day. And it's been theorized by me that if you're going to California, that's probably more like 10,000 brain cells. Only 2% of your body weight is occupied by your gray matter, but it uses up to 20% of your overall energy output. It desperately needs carbohydrates. Your brain works continuously and never rests, even when you're asleep. Aside from producing REM dreams, your brain works overtime to replenish its ability to function normally during your daytime waking hours.
I'm glad you brought up the brain, because it has really been an organ that has been put aside for many, many years. But I think as of the last 5 years, it now has that scientists have found that things such as plasticity and other methods of your brain helping itself, where before they thought the brain cells just died and that was it. And now it really can create new brain cells. And there are so many scientists that are studying the brain, whether it's Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. The brain is going to, well, actually, if you're brain dead, you're really dead, even if your heart's beating.
Yes.
So
Absolutely.
The brain's pretty important, and you're a brainy person yourself, so you should know that you must have a lot of brain cells.
And I stay away from California. Now, another organ that gets short shrift, if you didn't know this, you need to consume a quart of water each day for 4 months to equate to the amount of blood that your heart pumps in 1 hour.
Okay. Now that means, so 4 quarts? That's a lot. I'm going to be in the bathroom.
You need to consume a quart of water each day for 4 months.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you. So 1 quart of water each day. All
4
right.
months to equate the amount of blood that your heart pumps in an hour. Now, I'll break it down a little further for you. Over a lifetime, at your normal resting heart rate, you'll have pumped enough blood to fill 13 oil supertankers.
I don't know where you're getting these facts from, but they're pretty funny.
To further expound on this fact, on average, your heart beats 40 million times per year. Now, if you do the math, over your lifetime, on the average, both men and women, that results in 2,600,000,000 heartbeats. And that doesn't even factor in your increased heartbeats during your love of exercise.
Well, thank you. That was great. Cornelius Myers, we thank you so much again for our C.U.R.E. Radio. We learned a lot, and we will be back next Sunday, and we're on WWNN. That's 1470 AM on Sundays from 4:30 to 5. What will we be talking about next week? So thank you, and we are going to dream about this, Neil.
Thank you, Anita. Stay healthy, everybody.
That's right. Bye.